before we get into Lord of the Rings, I was wondering, what was it that drew you into acting in the first place?
Many a thing. The more I answer this question, the older I get, I realize that there's always a deeper answer to it. I think at the beginning of it all, I grew up in a place that was very silenced. Quite a poor community of with little self-expression or with little viable opportunities to make yourself be heard or exist or anything like that. So I was always, my passions were always an effort to find that kind of place where I could express myself, where I could bring a voice to my people, where I could stand against the kind of birthright oppression that you kind of are born into when you're coming from a poor environment. And that wanting to have subjectivity and that wanting to have a voice helped me stumble for a while up until I found myself acting. When I got this scholarship to be the captain of a swimming team of this very important private school in Puerto Rico. So I went from like very, very poor community to this opportunity, and I was determined to be a doctor, a pediatrician, but I found acting, and acting really, and not just acting, is the drama, theater, directing, writing, this whole side of art. I understood it was one of the most perfect intersections for everything that I wanted to do: creativity, expression, cultural shifting, reframing. We are in have such a powerful tool that immediately I switched gears, and since I'm 14 years old, I've been pursuing it, and since I was 15, I've been doing it professionally, with a very steep climb, but that's what got me there, and it's got me my start, and since then I've been fighting the fight.
But that's a great story, because it's a encouraging and an inspirational story for those who feel like, okay, there's no way. And like you said, you've risen, worked your way up and stayed determined and motivated to do so. And here you are now. So it's a great lesson for others.
Yeah, man. And it's not cliche. Truly, if I can do it, a lot of people can. I don't say everyone, because I also don't want to. There's a disingenuous thing of, if you put all your effort into something, and that's not the reality for a lot of people. It's not like a linear thing like that. But for many people, I think they can see my example, and if I actually could do it, they can, because I'm not an exceptional person. I really am not, and I don't want it to be seen that way, or that I'm magical, or that I've been anointed with something. This is something that a lot of people can do, if the right circumstances come across, and also a lot of sacrifice. But also if you have the right support in the business as well. But it's not just on us. It's also the people in power, if they also open doors for us as well.
Sure, that's great. So going again, pre-Lord of the Rings, one of your early acting jobs was on Sesame Street, and I watched some of the clips. I grew up on it, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. A little, after my time, maybe just before my daughters would have been watching it, but such a blast to watch. What was it like, getting on board with that? And also, do you have a favorite Sesame Street character? I was curious.
Yeah, that was great, because I grew up with it as well. And in Puerto Rico, when I didn't speak English, that was my first introduction to the English language, because they had, the PBS. And that was one of the few things that I had that was, you could see culture, because Sesame Street is like New York and Black culture and Latino culture, and like this beautiful thing. And this is pre-internet, pre all of those things. So me learning some English, watching that show, and then me being in the role that I auditioned like it was freaking American Idol for, teaching Spanish, not only teaching Spanish, but my character. I really created. I created the character, teaching kids that being a creative pursuit was also a viable profession. It was just, I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, you know. And it was a lot of fun. And my favorite character, you know, I do love Elmo. Everybody loves Elmo, and I love Big Bird as well. But my two favorite characters would be Snuffleupagus, you know, the big elephant with it,
Yeah.
and Ernie.
Two classics. Snuffleupagus used to scare my daughter. If he came on, she was trying to be brave, and she'd run out of the room and then peek around the corner and pretend she was doing like tying her shoes or something, and then she'd be like peeking until he was gone. Then she'd just suddenly come back. So
he's so sweet. He's so cute.
yeah,
I love.
She's better with him now. She's closer to 15. So then you get this opportunity, this amazing opportunity. You had several, numerous things in between, but of course, Lord of the Rings is this just behemoth of like fandom with, it's been around for I don't know how many decades now. What was it about your character that drew you to it? Why did you want to play Arondir?
I have to preface this, and I think most, if not all of my answers, that I have not been able to separate my pursuit of acting and what we do with my pursuit of what we spoke about before. It's always been a betterment of a representation, of expression, of leveling the playing field, of occupying spaces that we haven't been allowed to, of bringing the underdog to the table, of not giving up no matter what, of being brave of the face of adversity, of being the one that follows your bliss even when you're an outsider. And that's Arondir. That's all of that is in this elf. He is all of the things that I said. He is the first time that you see represented a more defined hierarchy of elves, and he is essentially a lower class elf, and he's an outsider within the Southland community, within the humans. He has a forbidden love, a love for this human, and a respect for this community that leads him to just essentially traverse Middle Earth and become this improbable hero suddenly. So, I always found myself very, I empathized with the guy. I understood the guy. I knew that there was something much deeper and gritty than what we're used to seeing in terms of the elves that are just more ethereal and lighter. I think this was a guy with a wound, a guy with a lot of life behind his eyes, pain, longing, and on top of that, the reality that there had never been enough of color. And that was something that I knew that I had to fight for. I knew that I had to defend, and I received, 3 rejections for the role. And I was not the first option in that sense, as it happens with, these processes, but I never took no for an answer. And I knew what this would mean for the fandom, what this would mean for the history of fantasy. And I went like Arondir. I traversed essentially Middle Earth all the way to the Southlands, and I'm very happy that I never gave up.
That's fantastic. Was the character Arondir always going to be cast with a person of color?
I'm not privy to that, to be honest. I just know that there's been a reality of who gets to play, an elf, and there was a lot of opposition to it, that I've heard from people before, and in my own life, people were discouraging me to even dream about ever thinking that I could play an elf because I was not white. And as you can tell, that was truly widespread. When I got cast in the role, there was an close to unsurmountable wave of backlash and racism and cyberbullying and harassment and death threats and the unnameable and unthinkable that I've been going through for about 3 years. And I've had to, ride that wave, and it has been hard on me, has been hard on my family members. But I believe in what I'm doing, and I believe in what I want, what it creates, and I believe in the change that it has created. And from all those voices, there's many more that have been impacted in such a positive way. And I see them and I hear them and I meet them in the street. So this sacrifice that I've had to take individually, I know that it's much greater than me. And I wanted to deliver a wonderful character, and I'm very proud of what I did.
And you did. And and you know what? It's I was going to bring this up as well, but it's just frustrating as a fan, even just to see, not, as a human too, but as a fan, you're like, okay, at the lowest common denominator, you're like, can't we just have good things? And but at the human level, you're like, what's wrong with people? Like, why would you go out of your way to be? And we see it. I mean, the news over the last 24 hours has been devastating, and there's hate and evil in the world, and I'm like, it's just so frustrating to even. I never thought it would be an issue, and then I was like, oh wait, it's America. It's going to be an issue, and it was. You're like a real life hero. You knew the challenges, and you went out there and fought, and that's on top of going out there for representation on a smaller scale. I mean, not smaller scale, but like in a simpler way. This resistance, and to go out there and fight, that's the true definition in my eyes. So thank you for doing so. We need more people like you.
That means a lot, man. That really means a lot. And it's, I was going off blind for a while, hoping that it would have this kind of impact. And now that I'm kind of on the other side of it, I am extremely grateful that I had the foresight to do this. But honestly, it's been a calling, and I infused everything that I had into creating this role, and to giving him the best shot at being layered and complex, and not only changing, the historic landscape of what fantasy is for elves and all these beings, but also for like marginalized people, just fringe people, like for the weirdos. This is for the outsider. That's what I mean. It's not just it is heavily representation in terms of race and ethnicity, but it is also for the geeks. It's also for the freaks. It's also for the nerds. The ones that just don't fit. And the fandom is heavily that. So I'm very happy that when I go to the Comic Cons and stuff like that, I can see that it landed, and I have a blast. It's like, you go to Comic Con, you're like, "What's up, nerds?" And it's like, all of us nerds and geeks, and it's like a coming home, and it's freaking great to celebrate each other.
I was going to mention, Comic Con, just as you said it. I'm there every year, and one thing I never went. A friend of mine convinced me, who actually became one of the hosts of my podcast, because of how the passion and what I saw. I'm like, wait, I didn't understand it at first. I was always into Star Trek, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, all that stuff, but I didn't understand, like you said, that kind of marginalized in a way. And I went there and I was like, my God, this is beautiful, and everyone just accepting each other for, is dressed as a wizard or a leprechaun or whatever you want to be. And they're just like, enjoying themselves. And there's such positivity. So, it's a wonderful community, and unfortunately, what you had to deal with, but I think over time, it's the fight you fought is going to lead to bigger victories. But speaking about the geek arts, were you a big fan of Lord of the Rings?
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. I mean, and that's part of it. Giving you the long story long of my life journey, because I'm still not able to be concise. I know my publicist everybody's like, try to make me to be a bit shorter, but I try. I was 14 years old. I think it was when Lord of the Rings came about, or 13. And when I saw the movies, it changed my life. It blew my mind. Where I grew up, I was super poor. We didn't have like a TV, we didn't have DVD, we didn't have any of that, and I was washing cars, and mowing lawns to buy that first TV, to buy that first DVD player. And one of the first DVDs that I bought was Lord of the Rings. And then I started saving up for the extended version and all these things because I became obsessed with the elves, especially. I really wanted to be an elf. But on top of that, I was able to see the behind the scenes of how they created that. And that's when I knew that I could have a life in what we're doing, what I'm doing. But yeah, absolutely massive fan. Massive fan. I was like pretending to be like a creature, you know, of the forest and all that magical stuff.
That's fantastic. And when you look at the scale of it, so like you said, you watched the behind the scenes. I was amazed at just the massive scale for the series, and it's just beautiful. These worlds they create, the different, you know, they didn't cut corners. What was it like being on the set? Like, what were they? Where's a massive scale? Was it a lot of green screen? Like, what kind of experience did you have as an actor?
Oh no, it was massive. It was massive scale. I think one of the most beautiful parts of it all is the the attention to detail. We worked with the most incredible specialized craftsmen and women, artisans. Everything is built by hand. The design, the costume design, Kate Hawley, you know, it's everything was there. A lot of it was practical. You know, I barely actually did any green screen. If it wasn't like they were enhancing a tower or something like that, but it was, most of what I saw was there. It was faithful. Yeah, it was incredible. It was really incredible. I understood cosplay, you know, because I was in it, or that IRL kind of thing, you know, when people go and do those live in a town kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was magical.
That's insane. I want to go back now to knowing. I wish, well, maybe they do. I have to check if Amazon has like behind the scene featurettes and stuff, because
Yeah.
people often give credit to the CGI, and you would assume a lot of this is CGI, but to you know, wrap your head around walking into those villages and all these, you know, all these different worlds, and it's just kind of mind blowing.
Yeah.
Speaking of mind blowing, your performance, your physical side of your performance. I mean, you're catching arrows, you got sword play, you're diving all over the place. You're in every single type of bad situation you can be in. What was the training like?
Oh, it was. I mean, it was my life essentially. And when I got the opportunity with everything that I'm telling you, I knew that I had the ability or the opportunity to create something, because he's a new character, and it's also a kind of elf that you really haven't seen much before. And I wanted to make it special, and I wanted to bring it also to closer to my experience, or infuse it with my own sensibilities. So yeah, I created the movement mythology of it. I did kung fu, taekwondo, wushu, tai chi, but I grounded it all in capoeira, it's an Afro-Brazilian martial art. You know, it's a wood elf, it's closer to the ground. There's the movements are more fluid. They're more like of animalistic in a certain way. You know, like a jaguar, or you know, that kind of thing. And with that, I said I wanted to do all of my stunts, and just about 90% of them that you see on the in the show is me. I was training every day, 8 hours a day or more, learning all these skills. I just wanted it to be so special, and everything was riding on it, and the world was going to see it, and a lot of detractors were going to see the thing, and I was giving them zero chances to be able to comment on it. But it's there's a beauty in the creation of something new, and I didn't take that for granted. It was grueling. I still have, you know, scratches and bruises and this and that, but I really went for it. I mean, all the wire work, it's myself, the choreography. So for the most part, just like there wasn't a lot of CGI, there's almost no doubling either.
Wow. What was there one stunt or that was like the most difficult, or one that, you know, scared you a little bit at all, or?
I'm not a fan of heights. And I don't know. And there's episode 6 that I jump off of this tower that's like straight up. And these jumps that are single line jumps, for the most part, you are jumping. Like you feel the line when you're about to land, but for the rest, it's a free fall. So your body feels it that way. So that was terrifying. you know, all of the
Yeah.
wire jumps are they're very challenging, all of them for me because I don't love heights. But to me, that was like my immersion therapy.
You feel it when they hook it up. You feel it when you're landing and you're praying in between.
And exactly. You're like, if I go, I go, doing what I love.
Did you have any issue, like any trouble with all the names? Because for me, I have to have Wikipedia open because I was like, there, every scene is like 40 different names. And I'm like, I think I know who that is. Like, oh, yep, I'm better with faces. I'm terrible with names. And this series
I know.
challenged that, shortcoming.
I'm there with you, man. Like I am absolutely there with you. It's sometimes we're on set and somebody says a name and I'm like, and that is who, because it's a lot. There's a lot. I'm one of those, watching our show, watching these movies, I always kind of try to take notes because especially in the world building at the beginning, it's this one, son of that one, king of that one, of the third, of the fourth, of the mountain. So it's still to me a little obscure. So I'm there with you.
Well, thank you. I thought I was alone because I
No,
hear
you're
people
not.
talk
You're
and
not.
just roll these names roll off the tongue like they're brothers and sisters. I'm like, no, I need to Google at least. Help me out. Is there an aspect of Aaron Deere that you are most proud of, or a favorite thing you got to portray playing him?
Yeah, I think I don't like heroes that are pristine and correct, and I've had these like straight paths. I like heroes with wounds. I like heroes with mistakes. I like heroes with confusion, with lack of certainty, and with obstacles. Because I think that's the closest to our reality. We're not. We live in gray for the most part, and I like that. There's this stoicism, this elvenness, this like harshness as a military man, military being, military elf, and you see that you had to fight so hard to bring his sensibility, his romantic love, his questioning, that softness through a very thin crack, for everyone to see. And that was a challenge. That was something that I loved about him because I think we all struggle with that, and the older you get, the smaller that crack becomes you get more solid in your ways and you don't want to express your vulnerability. So I think that was my favorite aspect of him because it's very rewarding, I think, for the audience to see someone dealing with what they're dealing with, no matter if they're an elf or a human, is that pain and that fear of loving, of caring, and how's that going to be handled, by the other people. And as we get older, that becomes more difficult because you're scared of being abandoned, you're scared of being let down. Pain kind of is rocks on top of rocks on top of the rocks. So yeah, that was beautiful for me, and it's still a beautiful challenge to play with.
That's great. Yeah, he's a very stoic character and very intimidating. So when you start to see this softer side, and it's only, like you said, only glimpses, he's not singing love songs or anything, but but you start to see there's a heart behind this kind of guarded character. It is nice to see, which kind of brings me into my next question. One of my final two. We have season 2 in production right now. Is that the case, or pre-production?
Yep. Yeah.
Production. Is there anything you could share about that? Anything you could share about the relationship, or just the size of it? Because I can't see it getting larger, but somehow I'm proven wrong often.
We're shooting in space. No, so I what I can share. I think when we left Middle Earth, season 1 is a time of relative peace. And we leave it, everything's turned on its head. And season 2 is the aftermath of that, or how are we dealing with this darkness, this new darkness? There's a big baddie that we met
Mhm.
at the end, and now that presence is there and it's real and it's known, and everyone's lives essentially got uprooted. So there's emotion, there's more questions, there's having to problem solve, there's an active through line of this of having to deal with that aftermath. And yeah, I think that's for the most part what I can share.
All right. Sounds
I find
good.
it very exciting. I found it. I couldn't put the scripts down. So I'm gonna
Awesome.
say I think the fans are in for a treat. The fans on new audiences, old audiences. I think it's a very exciting continuation of what we
Do you
already
have
did.
any idea how long it'll be before we start getting a glimpse of?
No, I wish I
No?
could help, man.
Yeah.
I want it to be out now.
Yeah,
too. 'Cause
well,
I want to see what it is.
that's the problem. You like, you watch these things, especially when you binge, and you're like, all right, well, I'm caught up, and then it becomes part of your life, and then next thing you're like, wait, you're jonesing. You're like, wait, when's my next fix? I need a little bit more. And sometimes it's a year, 2 years, 3 years later. It's
Yeah.
painful.
No,
So
no,
let me close
I
out
know.
with a simple one. 3 words to describe air endearing.
Ooh, simple one, he said. Let me think. I think there's truth. There's truth. It's determination, and there's confusion.
I like it.
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time today, and great work on this series. I can't wait to see more whenever that is. I was hoping for an answer, but I'll just have to keep checking that.
You're
the news
fishing.
sites.
You're fishing. You're fishing. No, thank you, man. Actually, I'm gonna amend confusion, curiosity. That's what you're gonna
Oh.
fix in post. Curiosity. Truth.
Well, it might be a
true
tough one, but
determination and curiosity.
I'll just tag it on to the end. Well, that'll work for us.
Well, yeah, man. Thank you so much, and I know that the wait will be worth it.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today, and try to relax and enjoy whatever time zone you're in.
Thanks, brother. Have a good one.
You too. Thank you.